welcome to the DNE basic training videos. We're going to go through a machine startup here. First thing we're going to start with on any DNE laser is going to be our cutting gases, and on our high power, so our 20, 30, and 60 kilowatt cutting heads, your purge nitrogen. We're not going to demonstrate that here today because ours is already on, the system is running, but it's very important to make sure that you have those turned on. Right, generally, we recommend the purge nitrogen. You want to leave that turned on at all times, but if you do turn it off at night, you need to make sure it turns back on in the morning to get all that humidity, dust, dirt, anything like that out of that cutting head first thing before we do anything else. So after you have your gases turned on, make sure that your compressed air is also turned on, and then we're going to go and start flipping switches. So, stepping back here, every single one of our DNE laser products for lasers is going to be the same process here. Just the general layout of where things are located might be a little different based on which machine and your floor pan in your shop. But we always want to start with the chiller. This is the most important step of the process, as long as you have the chiller being the first thing that you turn on, and then during your shut-off, the last thing that you turn off. So to turn our chiller on, we're going to go ahead, flip our main power switch. On the larger units, we have a touch screen here. On the smaller units, it's just a small little readout with a couple buttons. On here, once it goes through its little load up process, we are going to come over and hit this start button. It's going to take about 10-15 seconds for it to kick that pump in. Once that pump kicks in, we're free to move on and start turning other components on. On the smaller units with the buttons, they won't have the touch screen here. You have a little button that says on off. You're going to press and hold that button for about 3 seconds. Same process, wait for that pump to kick on, and then you can move on down the line. While we're standing here with our configuration, I've got my dust collector here, so I'm just going to turn my main power on for that. And then we're going to move on to the laser source. So, coming up to our laser source here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to hit our main power switch down here. The reason we want the chiller on first before the laser source is because the laser source is going to be looking for that water flow coming from that chiller. If you don't have that flow, the laser source is going to enter an alarm state. And the only way to clear that alarm is to turn the system off and turn it back on once you have fixed the problem. After we have our laser source on, we're going to move on down to the CNC cabinet. So, last start of the process of things that need to be turned on, we're going to turn on our main CNC cabinet. This is going to have all the drive controllers, the operator controls, and also the cameras on the machine. All right, so once you hit that CNC cabinet, you're going to come back here to your operator station. It's a Windows computer. Sometimes they can take a little while to start up. Once you get to your main screen here, your desktop, you're going to have your G3 software here. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. OK again. Now our G3 software is ready to be used. And this is going to be where you're going to get all your readouts on any sort of errors or alarms that you have with your laser source. Right now it is in an alarm state because we do not have the machine safeties or the operating system, the operating software open yet. So, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to find on our desktop here our operating software. This is a beveled machine, so it's going to be called FA-Cut. On our flat lasers without bevels, you're looking for a program called Type Cut. And go ahead, double click and open that up. So, once your operating software opens up, it's going to look something like this. You're going to have a couple alarms because we need to reset all of our safety circuits. You hear that beeping in the background. That's a D-Giant thing that does not happen on any of our other machines. So first things first that we want to do, we're going to hit this reset button, clear that blue light. Once that blue light is cleared, we're going to hit our clear alarms. Now we got all of our alarms cleared there except for our force return origin. The force return origin is going to be when you first turn your machine on, you need to reference it. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. First thing we're going to do, open up our return origin up here in the upper left-hand side of the screen. Make sure that all of these boxes are checked. If you have one of these boxes not checked, it's not going to origin that axis of the machine. Once you make sure those are all checked, we can go ahead and hit our start return button. So once we start our return origin there, you can see the machine is going to move to its reference point. You want to make sure when you start that you don't have anything sitting up here on the front side of the machine, because as you will watch here, this head is actually going to travel past that outside of the table there, the cutting area, because it needs a step back distance to find that 0 point. So it's going to go through its process here, lining up. Once it finds its 0 position, it will stop moving. All right. Once your return origin is finished, you'll see here the button down here is going to turn back into a clickable button. You're also going to get some readouts down here on the left-hand side of the machine. On FA cut, on hype cut, it's going to be on the top line up here. And it's going to tell you that your axes have been enabled. It's clearing out your alarms for your return origin, letting you know that the machine is ready to run. From this point, you are ready to move on to loading your programs, loading your material, and starting your day. So I'm going to show you guys here how to do the return origin on our hype cut controller. Same general process as FA cut, just the button itself is in a little bit different location. Same thing as I said before, you want to make sure that this general area of your machine is clear. You don't have anything sticking up that's going to get in the way of that cutting head. And also, very importantly, making sure that this door on the front of the cutting head here is closed. So we'll come back to our controller. We're going to find our button. It's about right middle bottom of the screen here for our return origin. You can see big blue button. Same thing. We're going to go ahead and hit that. The head's going to start going through its process. Same as on FA cut, as soon as this button turns back into a clickable option, you also get your readout in the top left-hand side of the screen here telling you that that alarm has been cleared. You're ready to go about your day. We're going to go through here just to walk you guys through it. The only part of the shutdown process that's a little bit different than the startup, we're going to go ahead and close out of our operating software, close out of our G3 software. Little shout out to some of our OpEx service guys there. And then we are going to shut down this computer. Wait for this to go. As soon as this screen goes black, telling you that this computer has been shut down, you're free to go start turning off componentry. Same general process as the startup in reverse. Again, the most important part being that the chiller be the last thing that you turn off. As you saw on the screen before, there was the start-stop button. You're going to hit that stop button. You're going to wait about 20-30 seconds for the pump to turn off, and then you can go ahead and hit your main power switch. On the smaller units with the physical push buttons, you just need to hit that on-off button, hold it for about 3 seconds, and then wait for the pump to kick off, ready to turn it off. That covers the entire startup and shutdown procedure of all of our DNE lasers. Thank you for joining us.